Alrighty, so welcome to the coaching call. Today is April 25th, 2016. My time, it is 9 a.m. in the morning. For most of you, it's going to be sometime either 6 or 9 in the evening. And I am actually on the 39th floor in a hotel in China. And keeping my fingers crossed, we've got the best internet we can possibly get, which is not that good here. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started with that. An apology to everybody. Yesterday the internet is really spotty here, and we were out of internet, literally. And so we had to reschedule for today, but we'll make the best of it. And there's always recordings. And so the content and that you're all here for will get delivered eventually. So let's go ahead and get started with this. As I'm sitting here in China, I wanted to share some really interesting statistics with you to kind of expand kind of what's possible and stuff out there, and maybe to retool and rethink about your business and your life on here. This is some really interesting stats here on China. So let me ask you a question. How many cities in the U.S. have a population of 1 million or more? So how many cities in the U.S. have a population of 1 million or more? Obviously, New York does, right? Houston does. Dallas does. Los Angeles does. So just kind of take a broad figure on that. Type that in the chat box. Just how many? It doesn't need to be exact. Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 15? How many cities in the U.S. have a population of 1 million or more on that? Versus how many cities in China have a population of 1 million or more? And this will really put it in perspective, the enormous size of China. It's unbelievable. Okay, so yeah, we got some pretty good guesses in there. So, you can get kind of a little bit technical on how you want to count the 1 million, but it's just broadly on that. There's about 15 cities in the U.S. when you're looking at counting cities that are 1 million and more. So, that's pretty substantial. But in China, there are over 220 cities of 1 million or more. And that really, really opens it up to how large this market is, and it will eventually eclipse the rest of the world. There's no doubt about it. That's where they're headed. And by the year, so there are 220, 1 million or more. By the year 2030, they will be up to an estimated 250 million. So it's just an absolutely huge marketplace. And because of the language barrier and just the way the culture is, it's very separated, at least. Culturally, it's not a place that you typically go to like Europe or something like that. But anyways, here's some other really fascinating statistics here to take into play. Over the past 5 years, if you take every smartphone, iPhone, Android, any smartphone, total number of sales of phones over the past 5 years in the United States and in Europe. And then about 18 months ago, China released their version of their smartphone. And if you take the combined sales that past 5 years of every type of smartphone in Europe and the United States, and it took 5 years to sell, China outsold that with their own phone to Chinese in the first 6 months. That's how enormous that market is. 5 years versus 6 months to sell. China has now more billionaires than the U.S. and is going to continue to outpace. So not only are they large, huge consumers, but they're also money-wise becoming extremely powerful. So why am I sharing all this on here? Well, I thought it was a good topic to really start thinking about the power of thinking big, right? So, some of you may have heard those things, and if your first thoughts were fear, then you definitely need to get out of that kind of stinky thinking. And it actually should be an inspiration of possibilities and the power of thinking big. Now, so let me share with you some quotes and then a quick story on that, and then we'll get into. I've got a lot of content I want to cover with everybody. So, but if you think you're weak, if you think you lack what it takes, if you think you're going to lose on that, if you think you're second class, this thinking, you're definitely going to be doomed to just mediocrity. And we think these things a lot. It's natural, but you need to make it natural to not think this way. People have doubts on that, but you got to think about not the doubts, but the possibilities. Instead of thinking, oh, geez, I'm going to lose. And a lot of people think they're playing to win. You know, like, oh, yeah, I want to win. I want to open this business. I want to have the best for my kids. And they think they're playing to win, but they're actually playing not to lose. And when you're playing not to lose, you fool yourself into playing into thinking that you're winning. So you might, I don't know, my fallback example is you might, get a course, and you might be looking at possibly getting some training, but you start looking through the training and you start thinking to yourself all of the reasons why it will not work, and then you leave going, I'm not going to get that because it's this reason and this reason it's not going to work. And at that point, you feel like you won, like you just saved yourself, but you didn't. You really were playing not to lose, and you stay in one spot on that. So I want to share with you, just leave you with one short story before we get into this. Long time ago, there was a village, and there was a young man who said he was going to go out and catch all these wild boars and then feed them to the village, and he was going to become a pig farmer. And all of the village people and the elderly all laughed at him. Said, no, you can't do that. These wild boars are beasts, and even with the strongest muskets and guns that we have, you can't possibly tame them, and they will eventually harm you or kill you. And one of the men was actually had a missing leg because he'd been attacked by one of these boars. And so the young man just ignored that. And every day he came into the village, and he bought a bag of corn. Go away. And he would do this every couple of days. He'd come in and buy a little bag of corn. Well, after a year, he came back into the village, and he said, I have captured all 600 wild boars. And so you can come out and select which boar you want to purchase. And they all looked at him and they said, what? Yeah, it's impossible. You couldn't have done it. Well, what he had done is he had taken the corn and he had put it next to the drinking well. And the pigs got used to eating the corn when they go down to the drinking well. And then he slowly just took the corn and he just let a trail out into a larger bin, basically a caged bin. And pigs are really intelligent, but again, the pigs got so used to the food that they eventually just all of them got used to going into the water well, following the corn into the basically the fenced area, and he enclosed the fence, and he caught them. Now, there's a couple of things to kind of think about on that, and that is, the first one is that you want to challenge old methods, right? Of catching the pigs and triumphing over that. And we're always being told what we can't do and what's impossible to do. People are very quick to come up with what you can't do. And it's always the people who find a solution, who find a way, a clever way to do it, that make it happen on that. The other side of the story is possibly on that end of it that is worth noting is that, I don't know if you realize how intelligent pigs are. Pigs are highly intelligent, but these pigs actually ceased to stop thinking for themselves, and they failed to see that gradually that they were being fenced in. Over time, they were gradually being fenced in and enclosed on that of it. And both of those things happen to us when we start to think small and little about us. And so as I sit here in China, I'm looking around here at this enormous marketplace. I'm thinking, how can I tap into this market space? how can I come in with my business model and tap into it? And instead of coming up with the normal things, I can't do it because I don't speak the language. It's a different culture. I don't understand it. I know I have to be more creative and get out, and go shopping for my bag of corn, basically, and figure out how I can lead these people in with this, because it's an absolutely enormous marketplace. When you think about just the United States, all the cities that are, my criteria is basically about 100,000 and more. And there's plenty of cities there, 50, 80, but then you take that into China, and it's just a whole nother ball game. So let me check the questions and answers, make sure we've still got sound, and we're still good here. And then we'll continue on. I have some good stuff that I want to cover. Yep, some good guesses there. Okay, awesome. Good. Okay, so we will continue here. And so what I want to cover here is I want to make sure that everybody clearly understands what kind of Kallzu's SEO strategy is. And I want to describe it as succinctly as possible, because I think there's a lot of confusion out there, and the confusion is caused by, well, quite frankly, a lot of people on courses and stuff out there that kind of want to make this more complicated than it is. And they want to sell complicated things and softwares and basically quick fixes, and there aren't in SEO. So basically, I want to talk about a little bit about what Crowdsource is, and this is in the modules and it's training if you're not quite sure what it is, but how we use it and why we use it and why it's really kind of one of the key components to this. And as I explain it, I think if you don't already know, it'll really make sense to you. So what happens is that when a brand new site gets indexed, if one of the algorithms that Google looks at is they want to know, is there traffic coming to the site of just natural people coming in and looking for the site? And of course, everything on the internet's tracked, so they're going to have they're going to be able to know the IP address, where they're coming from, what they searched for, how long they stayed on the site. So it makes sense if people find your site naturally, organically, right? And then from there, naturally, if it's a good site, then it should get some natural backlinks. That's what should happen, ideally, in a natural SEO world. So if you keep that in mind, then what happens is that people will index their sites, and if they don't use Crowdsource, then they'll start backlinking to their sites, but their site is not getting any natural traffic. In fact, many times it will have more backlinks than actual natural searches. It's very easy for Google to be able to detect that and know that those are very unnatural backlinking strategies. Versus you're getting some natural organic traffic, people searching for a keyword, or in our particular situation, in the beginning, is to search for your brand name, right? As soon as you're indexed, you search for your brand name, then what's going to happen after that is you're going to come up on page 1 above the fold for your brand name every time. And so we let Crowdsource, which is real people with real IP addresses from different machines, some with phones, some with their laptops, some with their PCs, and they're searching for your brand name. They find your site, they click on it, spend 2 to 3 minutes there, and then they leave and they don't do any similar searching on the internet for that particular niche. So what does that tell Google? That tells Google, well, there's people actively seeking your brand name, spending time on your site, and then they've stopped looking for whatever niche or category that was in. And that tells Google, wow, people found this place, they looked for it, and what did they end up doing? They stopped. So it must have been a good experience versus maybe going to the site and then clicking right off after 2 or 3 minutes. So when that happens, then naturally what follows is you're going to have some backlinks, right? So I hope that makes sense. So when you start out with Crowdsource, you want to you're not going to be ranking. And I'm not going to go into how you use Crowdsource. That's all covered later, but I want that overall concept to really come home. What you don't want to do is you don't want to start sending backlinks to your site. The first thing you want to do is you want to do some crowdsourcing. And then you follow that up, and you do the crowdsourcing with the brand name, and then you want to follow that up with some slow, steady backlinks, and the slower the better. 1 or 2 per month. I mean, this is a patience game in the beginning, but once you do it properly on that, and you get above that tipping point, it's all going to pay off on that. So let's talk a little bit about the quality of the links and the types of links that we use. The 2 primary ones by far is going to be the private blog networks and the Web 2.0s. And quite frankly, you could just use those only and you would be fine. But just to layer on top of that, particularly in the beginning, for your, you kind of seed your core couple cities that you start in, we're going to use some forums, as I teach in the course, and some blog comments. And those are going to be it's very important that it's niche specific, and ideally niche specific and city specific. And I show you how to do that in the course. But if you can't always find the city specific, then we'll go for the niche specific on that. And that would be the one you would do in your avatar's Firefox, because it's natural. You're a business owner. You're going to go to a plumbing or hardware site, and you're going to participate in the World Wide Web community, and you're going to leave a backlink, and you're going to leave a comment, and that's natural, and Google likes to see that. So I hope that makes sense, and that it makes it very clear. I see all these complications and stuff out there with SEO, and it's just really that simple. So the other thing that I wanted to really cover on here is to remind people out there, particularly people who are new and maybe people who haven't quite got there yet, is that after you do have your niche selected, okay, then the next thing that you want to do is you're going to select the city that you're going to start, and then you want to contact my support, and we're going to send you give the support the top 3 URLs in your competition. So don't give a Yelp or something like that. You want real site, company sites, not directory sites. And you determine which 3 of those are. We're not going to let my staff do that. That's your decision. You decide what's the top 3 for your main keyword. We'll send you the backlink reports. And I want to go over right now how you use those backlink reports. And I also, at the same time, want to dispel some myths that people think that, your backlinks have to come from a niche specific source. So if you're in plumbing, then it has to come from a plumbing source, and that's the only way to do it. Well, I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you with facts and examples, real world examples, that that's not the case, and that where that myth has been told out there is somewhere along this grapevine of IM information and courses and stuff out there is somebody's just come up with that rule for whatever reason, but there's no substantial proof. I'm going to show you proof, and I could sit here literally for the next 20 hours and show you proof and proof again, but I think what I'm going to show you will drive home the point. Plus, it will help you answer other questions. Like we get questions all the time about private blog networks. Well, I want to get private blog networks and stuff in my own niche and stuff, and that's really hard to do, but we can get high quality private blog networks, and you can repurpose some of them into your niche, but you don't need to do all by any means whatsoever, and I'm going to show you that right now. At the same time, we'll also be looking at how you can use these backlink reports that we send you for your niche. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So let me just expand this window out a bit. And so let's see here. Alrighty, so this is if you type in DUI Attorney in San Diego, this site's pretty much going to come up in the top 3, depending on your IP address. Now, DUI Attorney in San Diego is extremely competitive. I think I'm pretty close when I say that the cost per click for Google AdWords is over $100. So can you imagine that? You're going to get probably 10 clicks before you get a client. So that's $1,000 you're going to spend. That's a big bill, especially when you're going to probably get $10,000 worth of clicks. So extremely competitive. And here's the backlink structure of it. And let's take a look at where these backlinks are coming from. Now this site, because of how it's ranking, definitely generates, I would say, at least, $1, $2, $3 million per year in revenue. So this ranking number 1 is a huge revenue generator for this firm. So let's take a look at the backlinks on here. The only one that is law related is this one right here. We're going to actually look at where these are in here. But I just went to arts, movies, society, military, arts on here, health, science, shopping, recreation, pets, travel. Here's a society law one. But notice the ratio we have here. Arts on here, computers, business, computers, society law. You see what I'm saying? So there's not a whole lot of links back here. Now let's actually take a look at some of this stuff on here. Here, this is their second highest backlinks, and probably their second most powerful backlink on here. It has nothing to do with law, does it? It's jaredstory.com. Now, it's about anti-bullying on here, psychological help and resources, and then what it has is it does have some legal resources on here, but this site is not a law site. But really focus in and notice how they tied this in, and how you could take in maybe some of the private blog networks that you get. Some of them are good enough to go back in the Wayback Machine and basically just copy the content. And literally, you don't need to build the site exactly the same. It's just the wording and maybe copy and paste the header and put it in. So there's nothing extraordinary that you need to do. And how you can do an article like this and try to bridge the gap. This is Jared's story, and now they're kind of tying in psychological information of bullying and then the legal aspects of it. So you got to get kind of creative of how you can kind of bridge those two together. And then, so it's really straightforward with that. And it's let's take a look at another one of the websites. So this is another one. This is for the law firm, DUI, right? Number 1. This is the USS Horn. This is something about a reunion, I guess, of some type of Navy, right? There's not a lot of content on here, so just a lot of images. And check out here. That's their link right there. DUI Attorney right there. It's not content or anything. But this is like one of their top 5 sites on here. It has nothing to do with everything we've been told about, right? Let's just continue on with this and take a look at this. And you should find a lot of comfort in this, knowing that, wow, I don't actually need to go out and create these absolute niche specific. It's nice to have a few, and you're going to spend your time repurposing a couple. But other than that, you don't got to worry about it. Look at this. This is 5 great tips for learning French. What the heck does that have to do with law? But it's one of their top 10 ranking sites. And here, and look, it's just right here. It's right at the bottom of the article. It's right there. This is easily a high 7-figure site ranking on page 1. Okay, so let's take a look at another one of their top links. Goldfish. What are you talking about? Goldfish. What does that have to do with DUI law? Okay, so you come down here, and where's their link on here? When you look for their link, where is it on that? It's somewhere mixed in here, but it's going to be, I guarantee you, it's not inside here. And I'll show you in the course that you just look at the source page and you can determine where it is. But this has absolutely nothing to do with law, okay? But it's the Goldfish site on here. Where are we with that? Here's Jared's story, right? Mental health on that end of it. There's the language one, the French, right? And here's the Goldfish one, right? So it's easy, right? So I hope, I'm going to go through another very short example of that, but I hope that kind of opens your mind and makes it, and you can just do this with site after site after site, and it just clearly shows you what it's going to take to actually rank on these. And it doesn't take what you're being told, okay? Let's look at another one. So if This one's not as competitive, but this is, Chiropractor Phoenix. So on my IP address right now, this is kind of where it's ranking. Let's take a look at this site and see how it's ranking. I just put it in. Whoops. So these are some of the backlinks. These are some of the top backlinks that's coming from. This one is mentalism. What? Mentalism. It says nothing. Tone down the noise. Play catch. Puzzles. So this is something about maintaining your mental edge. And the chiropractic site is right here. It is just purely a link. It has nothing related to this at all as far as just what does mental focus have to do and sharpening your game have to do with back pain. But it's one of their top ranking links, and it's not even a contextual. And they're ranking on here. Here's another one. And this is a good one of how they bridged. Remember before I started with Jarrett's story, and he got bullied, and how they bridged the law in that. This is one of bridging too. Deserts, rat outdoors. This is some kind of skinny moose, hunting, fishing outdoors. What does hunting and fishing outdoors have to do with chiropractor? Well, an endorsement for chiropractic care. I haven't read this article, but could you just think, well, if you're hunting or fishing and you've got a bad back, here's how you can hunt and fish even better. You need to take care of your back, blah, 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 blah. And then they just have this is the actual link. It's an image. Okay? Very short article on that. So I hope that kind of opens that up, takes some of the confusion, the so-called fear and stuff that's out there, and kind of helps bring that to light and let you know that it's really when you're just combining the crowdsource, the private blog networks, and as long as you got the private blog networks, you're making the sites look as real as possible as an outline, and we're not doing, a maximum of 5 total backlinks to money sites, and you've got some, just following the guidelines, a couple out to some authority sites. You're going to look very natural. You're going to maybe do these little backgrounds here of a tree forest and a header. It's going to be fine. And so that's really SEO. That's what it takes to rank. Okay? That and patience. But then once you get up there, you're going to do very well. So let me now switch over to questions and answers. Make sure I covered all this. How to use the backlink reports. So you just click through the backlinks and you follow them. There's going to be some backlinks where you're going to be able to get your own links. But if nothing else, it'll give you a really good idea about how that site's ranking and the quality and how you can easily duplicate it, right? So let's go ahead and get started here. For the first question that was sent in, and thank you those who send those into our questions. I didn't realize that when I first bought the course, but a post in the Facebook group seems to imply that your method involves doing pay-per-click, pay-per-call. Yes, that is correct. Is pay-per-call something, or basically paid advertising, something that can be added to the mix? Yes, of course it can. When I start making some money, selling leads to accelerate my earnings. That's exactly what we do. So anyways, basically how that works on that end of it is that you're going to, you first want, and this is, again, I'm just repeating myself, but it's good to reiterate this. You want to get some trust with Google. How do you get trust with Google? Get your site up there ranking, ranking in a couple of cities. And then we're going to layer on top of that some paid advertising, which is going to absolutely introduce much more traffic and sources of leads, and profitable leads at that. And I'll get into that later. And that's going to be coming very shortly. I'm trying to stay about a couple of 2-3 weeks ahead of some people in the course that are basically kind of leading the way. What I don't want to do is I don't want to introduce some of these things, because I know what human nature is, and I see people do it all the time. Our support team is constantly reminding everybody, look, don't go ahead. Don't be asking all these future questions. Right now, focus on Module 1. Good. Now you got Module 1, you got your niche done. Step 2, build out your site, study the other sites. Step 3, crowdsource backlinks. That's what you need to be doing. You're not fast forwarding into other areas that you're not ready for yet. Because what happens is, we really want people to succeed here. What happens is people end up fast forwarding, and they feel like they're accomplishing something, but they're not. They're just doing busy work. They're not taking any action. They're just reading and looking at it. Okay, so so let's take a look at this. So here's a question and answer on here. Is we found I found this is someone that wrote this in. I found a professional niche in a large city, and the primary keyword has 500 searches alone. Another 4 to 5 related keywords collectively added another 250 searches. Seems promising initially. When I did a Google search, I found that the top 4 sites were subdomains of national professional magazines that were set up as a local directory for my city. The Majestica root trust flow for each one was around 40. That's just the root, and the referring domains had over 100,000. I wouldn't worry about it. That said, the rest of the sites were not competitive or prohibitive that way. And 2 to 3 of the sites, the Google 3-pack, were not competitive in either way. So would it be worth pursuing and trying to rank in the 5th position? Absolutely. Look, you're going to get leads coming in if you're in the bottom of page 2, if you're in the middle of page 5. This is something that everyone out there has this incredible amount of fear. It's like, if the top 3 sites are like directories, which you can kick butt on directories, I just should forget that niche. No. The internet is a huge place. The amount of searches that you're going to get from page 1, anywhere on page 1, is going to change your life. So stop with that. In fact, I almost wish I would have just not even put in the course that we even want to look at the competition, because this really doesn't matter. What matters is your commitment and that you understand the SEO behind it. It's not complicated, folks. It isn't. It's just a patience game. It's a patience game and moving forward on that end of it. So please think big. Think big, move forward. You can do this. Question. So I currently have a team of 4 VAs that are working for me full time. Currently, everyone is on a probation period and therefore being tracked based on hours worked. And screenshots being taken of their computer every 5 minutes. I assume that's some kind of software or something. I've noticed that just scanning through the screenshots that there are lots of cheaters going on. For example, my VAs apparently worked 42 hours last week, but from the actual screenshots, it was maybe 20 hours a week. Do you have a strategy for discouraging this kind of behavior? I've also seen people who claim to have worked 6 to 8 hours with no tangible results, really no work. Okay, so this is a great question, and this is like one of those examples of that transition that you're going from a employee, a solopreneur, to an entrepreneur. If you haven't listened to the last few webinars where I've really talked about that, you should definitely go back and listen to that. But your job is not to do busy work. Your job is to build dream teams and to put KPIs in place and to manage these dream teams and give them a secure place to work. Well, first of all, you've got almost all the pieces in place. Number one, you got their computer done every 5 minutes. You need to confront these guys immediately with this end of it. Number two, you cannot track production by taking images or by hours. So if your main KPI, key performance indicator, to track the way the performance is done in your company is done strictly by screenshots and hours worked, you are doomed for failure. Okay? What you need to do is you need to track by performance. So you need to come up and say, what are these people doing? For example, if they're writing a article on this end of it, you need to come up with a key performance indicator of how many articles, how many words an average person should be able to write in a work shift period. How do you do that? Well, as I've gone over many times again, you need to be the first one to be able to do this work. A, so you can teach it. B, so you can tell is somebody working or not. You know, is 500 word articles a day, is that average? And then when you come in with your KPIs, you can come in and measure that. It really doesn't, the hours really don't matter at that point. What matters is they should get this amount of work done in this amount of period. And then you can come up, once you get to that level, then you can come up with incentives of getting more productivity done. The other way that you can help this is that I'm going to probably guess that your 4 VAs probably may be working at different times. They should all be checking in at the same time on Skype in a Skype group. That's how I do it. Good morning, everyone's here, blah, blah, blah. And then everyone takes lunch at the same time, and everyone starts back up at the same time, and everyone's off at the same time. And then you need to be circling around in there, spending no more than 5 or 10 minutes in the day, sometimes more in the beginning, circling around, checking in with people on the KPIs and asking how those KPIs are doing. So how's the articles coming along? You got how many? And they always know that there's a presence there, and they know how they're being measured and stuff. And quite frankly, if they can figure out how to get 6 hours of work or 6 hours of work within an 8-hour period, but you got all your KPIs done, who cares on that end of it? So that's what I would say there. The key points here is you got to measure, and you can't measure by purely screenshots and hours worked. You have to look at you have to come up with a way to measure the actual work itself. And there has to be some kind of level of trust in there. And the fact that you're coming to me with the question, which I appreciate, but you're not immediately coming down on them. You have to, especially when you're at the beginning, you have to vet these people out. There's going to be turnover rates on that end of it. So anyways, part of the growing pains here. So let's go ahead and switch to the questions and answers here. And let's see here. Let me open up my screen. Alrighty. Yeah, Joy-proof software as well. I think that's probably what he's using to take the screenshots, but I'm not quite sure. But there's a lot of them out there. The monitoring and the screenshots alone aren't going to do it, because unless you have KPIs, they're smart enough to figure out ways to make the Joy-proof and other software appear as though they're doing more work than they are. So you want to be careful about that. So I've just completed my keyword research for 20 cities. Let me copy and paste this question in here. And get that in there. Okay, so I've just completed my keyword research for 20 cities. Some of the cities have big traffic numbers, but really high pay-per-clicks. Some of the cities have 250 searches with low PPCs. Do we want to start off with these cities and at some point add the higher traffic cities? I would just go, you can come in either way, but I wouldn't worry too much about the high pay-per-clicks. The high pay-per-clicks are going to be really important to you, but that's really just more of an indicator of the value of a click. Once we get to actually doing AdWords pay-per-click, using really good metrics and having a good high quality score, whatever that face value is, you're going to be able to take about 30 to 40% off. And then the pay-per-calls advertising, which is completely, you're going to pay for a call, not a click, both through Bing and Google AdWords. That's going to be drastically reduced. So I'd really just be looking at that more as the value of that. And again, I wouldn't be scared about the niches on here. If you want to start in something a little bit lower to get up ranking faster, that's fine. If you want to go right for the top and go for it and stuff, that's fine too. Just know either way, you're going to get there. So let me continue on here. And okay, so here's another thing on here. I get this question quite a bit. Again, I think the question here comes from, again, it's just a lot of the traffic that's out there than this. Anyways, is it more important to get an expired domain with some trust flow or a new domain with the keyword in the title? Well, I don't think you've gone over, whoever asked this question, I don't think you've gone over the course on here. And your question is coming from a lot. It's not your fault. You've just probably bought and heard a lot of the courses that are out there. First of all, let's cover the keyword in the title. You do not want the keyword in the title. And I go over that clearly in the course. For a long time, I rant about it, and I give examples of what not to do with it, why not to do with it, and whatever. So I'm not going to go over it now. Go over it in the course about buying that. You do not want a keyword in your title. It's the last thing you want. It's going to hurt you. And I know some of you right now are like, you're resisting that thought. But, it's hard to let go of the lies you've been told. Is it more important to get an expired domain? You could get one, but if you do get an expired domain, you better make darn sure it is of the same niche. Google is on top of that. If you go out and get an expired domain, and then redo it to your particular niche, you're only going to get the benefits for it if it's of the same thing. So if you're in the automotive niche, you're going to get an automotive site. I would just if you have the skill set, you've done it before, it's not going to take too much of your bandwidth. Yeah, go out and do it. Is it the secret thing that's going to give you that little edge? I don't think so. You can just get a brand new domain. You can give it a good branding on it, and you can follow the course because it works. So, and that's another thing. People always want to. It's like I don't know how I could put some kind of banners on every single training video out there, that every single training thing is that just follow the course. It really, really works, instead of every single step of the way to find out 20 other ways you could somehow improve it or some way you could change it. Stop, please. Just relax, follow the course, and it will happen. Don't go through the course, and every single step you go through, you got to come, well, should I be getting expired domains? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? No. Just relax. You're getting in your own way. Okay, so let me just go through these, a couple more on here. Once the site is completed, how quickly do they get indexed? Well, you see comments like this within the Facebook thread, by the way, on this many times. If you just do the way I teach it, which is not a hacky way, it's not the way everyone else teaches, I just let Google do it. That's the best way to do it. I'm not going to mess too much with Google. I just let Google do it. I teach how to do that in the course. Sometimes 24 hours, sometimes 48. The absolute longest would be 7 days, and that's a rarity. Make sure you follow that in the course. That what you do is I teach in the course of how you, specifically how you not let Google index your site. And it's not the way it's traditionally taught out there. Because the way it's traditionally taught, that it's always, Google will always find a way to index it. You don't want Google indexing partial work. It'll slow the rate at which your site gets actually ranking. And I teach you how to block Google from doing that. And then once your site is complete and ready to show, just ready to go, all the pages are complete, everything's there, then you release it with the Google Webmasters. You ask Google Webmasters, which is Google, you ask Google, you say, hey Google, I've released these pages, can you go crawl them? And they'll do it. Don't get all this pingy stuff and everything. Don't force the 600-pound gorilla, okay? And most people are indexed every single page within 24 hours or less. But if it takes 3 or 4 days or 7, it's okay. Don't force it. Yes. Okay, good. All right. So how soon do you start a new city? Okay, this is a good question. Thank you for asking that. So let me put that in here. Okay, so this is a great question. And it's how soon do you start a new city once you have the first one up and the SEO started? Well, you can start a city. You can start as many cities as you want, but I would start with the first city. I would look at it from an SEO perspective. I would start the SEO in the beginning, one city at a time. That's the SEO, so that's the backlinking, that's the crowdsourcing. But you can, and I would encourage you to build out the next 4 to 5 cities and have them on your site. Okay, and you can have 4 or 5 cities on your site. It creates a larger site. You're adding more content to it naturally. Google likes content, right? They like to see the site growing. Let me add a caveat to that. Don't ever confuse local niche sites with information sites, blog sites, where people come to get content. People do not come to local sites to get content. They get there to make a buying decision and buy a service. Google knows this, so this is why you don't need like tons of blogs and content and all that kind of stuff. That's not what's needed. And you can look at all the sites out there, just reverse engineer them, or just so you can just study them, and you can see the sites that are ranking 1 are all thin. They're not tons of content. That's where these misnomers come from people out there that are so-called the SEO gurus telling you content is king, right? That's baloney. It's only content is king if the site is supposed to have content and people come there to get content. People don't come to a chiropractic site to get content. They don't come to a plumber site to get educated, okay? They come there to make a buying decision in order to buy a service or a product, okay? So let me just come back and answer the question succinctly here, is that you can come in and you can build out your site, have your first city in, start your SEO, and the SEO is a slow process. So as you add your SEO, you can start adding your other cities. Okay, and add 5 or 6 or 10 of those cities, but keep the SEO nice and slow and steady. And then also how you interlink the sites and the pages, which I have the diagrams and the mind maps in the course, is that as you start to do that, the same backlinks that you're sending to that first city that you're doing, that SEO link juice is going to start to spread out how the sites interlinked together in the pages and stuff. So, good question. Move on here. Okay. After just literally joining your training, do you have past webinars that are a must-see on here? I would go through all the webinars on that end of it. All of them have good content into it. The absolute must-sees are the 2 most recent ones on hiring a team, but and going from an employee to a solopreneur to an entrepreneur, and what it takes to build a dream team. I did 2 consecutive ones on that. It's a big topic. Got a lot of feedback from those, good positive feedback, so I would look for those. Good. Okay. You're okay. Okay, new here. Also a comment on the cost per click, I guess, CPC. I have some good niches, but a lot are like $15 to $25. Should I stay away from those? No, not at all. In fact, I need to go into the course and just cross that out. No, don't. Actually, the higher the CPA, the more you're going to be able to sell the leads for. So just use that as a point of reference that it's gonna your calls are just going to be more valuable. Thoughts on curated content? Let me put that question in here. Okay, so thoughts on curated content. It's fine, but I would reference back to what I said earlier. You're not creating a blog here. People don't come here to do this. It's kind of like, you can have really good like Shopify and product sources, stores can rank really well, but they just have images and a small little description of the shoe size or the bag size or something like that. But it's ranking number 1. Does it have a lot of content? No. It has exactly what the people are looking for, which is a picture of 20 watches in inventory and a very small 2 to 3 sentence description of it. And that's it. They don't have curated content. Curated content is for news. And somehow some SEO guru decided, hey, let's find out, we're learning that CNN and Yahoo News and all these other kind of news sites, they're all using curated content, so they don't have to create their own. They're doing the intro and the extra on it, and they're, and doing their own little small commentary, and that's basically what curated content is. And so that should apply to all sites. No, it doesn't. You got to really stop and really be very careful about what you're listening to out there. Okay, because we can go throughout, go throughout your niche, and look at your top 3 sites that are ranking and go through. Do they have curated content? No, they don't. Do they have a blog post after blog post after blog post of content written? No, they don't. So, and if they do, there's going to be a few you're going to find out there. It's just old school stuff, but you don't need it. How long should the group in general spend on Module 1? As long as you need. And if you have questions or whatever, that's what myself and my support staff is for. When you say only 1 to 2 backlinks a month, is that per city or for your whole site? That's going to be, when you're first starting out, that's going to be for your whole site, but basically your first city. Once you get up to around 2 or 3 cities, then you can start doing that per city. But you got to gain some trust in there first. Google's got to kind of feel like, hey, you're up there on page 1. That's a good question. Pay-per-click, okay. Using multiple cities or areas on the same site. Yep, my problem is people click the home page link at the top and go to the home page and call the number on it and not the number on the page I started. I guess you have to remove the home button. Well, I don't think I would send in your URL, Doug, so that my team can take a look at it and see how you have your site structured. But that's never a problem with the sites that we have structured and stuff. People going to the home page. We don't have a home page. What we have is a Houston page. We don't have a home page. We have a Houston. And this is exactly how we teach in the course, the structure. So we have a Houston page. We have a Dallas page. We have a San Diego page. So it's very clear about where they are on that. So they're not going to be calling that. And plus it has, it's all local based numbers. So if you're from the Phoenix area and you're looking for a 602 number, you're certainly not going to be calling a 841 number from somewhere else. And it says San Diego, or this is our, the URL, everything says San Diego or Houston. So every page is identified to the local area on that. So if that helps right there. If not, you want to send in the URL, our team can take a look at it for you. Okay, I found a niche topic that seemed to be good in 6 to 10 cities and nowhere else. Searching range 500 to 1500. It looks good to start with, and then I started to think it wouldn't fit. Is there a minimum number of cities I require? Well, that's kind of odd. It'd only be 6 to 10 cities, and it would go from 500 to 1500, and then the rest of the cities it all of a sudden doesn't. That sounds very suspicious to me, unless it's a regional niche on that. I would encourage you to, re-examine this niche and find out, really, are you actually doing the data correctly? That's like saying only 6 to 10 cities have chiropractors in it, and the rest don't have enough searches. And that's certainly not the case. But if you said something like, I don't know, sick cactus helpers or something like this, then only in regions where people have cactuses in their yards in the desert area is that going to be applicable. Then that would be 6 to 10 cities, and certainly not going to be taking place, in Idaho and Seattle and stuff like that. So that's an obvious one. So you need to look at that and see. But if it's something like the first example, you got like chiropractor, then you're doing something wrong with your searches. But either way, you want to get into a niche that you can expand and leverage out, because you want to get that tipping point. That tipping point is where you're ranking 4, 5, 6, 7 cities, and then all of a sudden, bam, Google loves you, and the next city you put up is just like a citation, and you're ranking on page 1. And you want to get to that point, and you want to leverage all that hard work in the beginning and start think big, like China, think big. 50, 80 cities, not 6 to 10. Okay. So often the Google Map box, man, I got to get rid of that. I'm never offering that ever again. It's absolutely screwed everybody up because everybody wants the little hacky stuff, and that's not how you build a business. It's just a little extra thing if you want to do it. Don't build a business off of it, folks. Often the Google map box and the top 3 sites are not the same. Therefore, is the box in the top 3 or the top below are the top sites. Just look at the top organic ranking sites. That's it. Just check out those. That's gonna be your competition right there. And then think scale, man. Look, if you got 50 cities and you're on the bottom of page 1, the top of page 2, but you're in 50 cities, you're going to make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month. And everyone's all stuck on this. Well, there's a little Yelp or little Angie's List on here as a directory with a high, trust flow of this. I can't get into that niche. No, think scale, large numbers on here, okay? Think of the boars on here, on that end of it. You can trap these boars and bring them in. Think volumes. If you're in 50, 80 cities in the U.S. and you're on the middle of page 2, collectively, you're going to get so many freaking phone calls to come in. It's going to literally change your life. But everyone wants to be at this kind of scared, worried, got to be at number 1, got to be in the Google Maps section. No, come on. There's so much extra traffic out there that spills out everywhere. Do you have a VA checklist or guideline for outsourcing in Module 1? Yes, we do. And that's going to be in the replays, the coaching calls. Alrighty. Okay. Alrighty. So let me get a few more of these questions. We're going to wrap it up here in just 3 minutes. I got a plane to catch. Okay. Alrighty. So if the keyword planner tool, city after city, shows you search volume for many keyword variations that is not possible on the small end, like 20s and 30s for searches, if I told you the niche, would you agree? Do you recommend a different keyword search? People try to overanalyze this keyword stuff. There's, it's just, you got to simplify this, folks. It's really, really easy. SEO is easy and keyword research is simple. All you're going to have for most niches is you're going to have the service itself, and the city name. And that's just going to be about it. And there's going to be some variations of in or that, or, but I go over that in the course. Now, there's going to be some niches that are going to be a little bit more complex because they actually will have more than one page. So they may have another page, which is going to be, Google's going to prefer that. And I go over that in Module 1, Video 0. If browsers, if you're confused about that and you want to share with the support desk the keywords that you came up with, they will certainly answer your question with that end of it and help you get on the right track with that. So see, the thing is with the keyword planner tool is that it's for AdWords, and so with AdWords, you're going to put in a list, maybe for like a plumber niche. You might put it, or even something very simple like a car detailing niche or a wedding planning niche or something like that. You're going to put in 200 to 300 keywords. Some of them are going to get 5 searches in the month. Some are going to get 20 and 10. No, when you're doing SEO, you're not going to be able to rank for those. It's impossible because it's a different beast. You're going for the big keywords, the 4 to 5 to 7 keywords. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so here's this. All right, so I'm gonna copy and paste this one. This comes back to the whole. It's really more fear-based. It's like this. It's like people believe that they can't go out and tame the boars. Okay, so this is a good question. This will be our last one for the day. If there's any questions, any specific questions that did not get answered in today's calls, send them to the support desk. Those people know more than I do, way more. Okay, so what should I do when the SERP page has several third-party sites at the top, and the highest-ranking local sites are down lower, but the local sites are looking strong like this? Well, first of all, if you have bbb.com, well, I'm not quite sure what that is. If that's Better Business Bureau, then you got the wrong keyword in there. But anyways, let's just assume that that's a directory, a Yelp, an Angie's List, and a local guy niche on here. Again, this is it's these kind of search. I wouldn't. Anytime I see the Yelp, the Angie's List, I know I can crush it. But it depends on your keyword. If you're going after a keyword, which I do not recommend you do these keywords, like plumber companies. Well, Google's going to say, you know what? I want the best results for plumber companies, and that's not going to be a local guy niche. That's going to be a Yelp and an Angie's List. Does that make sense? Or the top 5 plumbing companies. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to have, I'm going to do like an Angie's List or a Yelp. There's going to be other ones in there, thumb back or whatever, because those sites provide that kind of information. But if you're looking for a keyword in here specific that has to do with a local niche that's going to pull up their site, it's going to be something, like paintless dent repair. Then you're going to pull up the local guy niche. So it depends on your keyword on here, but don't let these Yelps and these Angie lists scare you. Geez, just every time I see them, I'm like, I raise my hand and start doing the happy dance because I know I can kick their butts. Okay? A lot easier than you could tame a bunch of wild boars. My name is Chris Winters from China. I'm heading out today, and I'll talk to you on the next call. Take care. Bye-bye.